Hello.
No, we're not doing slam poetry.
To Comicstorian Weekly. All right, hello and welcome to Comicstorian Weekly. I've been trying, I won't lie, every Monday morning, I'm thinking through my head, how can I start originally today?
Sure, I'm with you.
And most of the time, I can't think of anything original.
Okay.
So I just fail. And then that happens. I try beatniking and I fail pretty badly. So hello and welcome to Comicstorian Weekly, the weekly podcast where we review comic books.
Is that what we...
This week we're going to be going over the releases from February 12th. Andy, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm very goofy because we do stream this live every Monday at twitch.tv/Comicstorian right after our mystery cast.
Yes.
2 p.m. Eastern, which was a hilarious episode.
It was, actually. Yes,
that might, unfortunately, be a Twitch exclusive due to camera problems.
Because Dan broke it.
Static Shock. This is the reason that show got taken off the air. They recorded it and then he shocked it and they were like, well, we've lost everything. It's I guess we got to cancel. All right. Well, since we're in a very goofy mood, we're just going to jump right on in.
Both feet.
All right. So first comic of the week that we did not read, but I want to let you know came out. Arrow number 8 came out this week.
Arrow like arrow?
Arrow, the part of the Marvel manga series.
Right.
That's what I'm referring it to it as.
Yes.
But I do not believe
like
it is definitely not unofficial. All right, so on to the first comic that I read, Amazing Spider-Man number 39. Now, do you guys remember my problem with the last Amazing Spider-Man? And how I was annoyed with the fact that Jonah and Spider-Man always have that dynamic of trying to help each other and then it going poorly.
Sure.
Well, guess what happens in this one?
They try to help each other and it goes poorly.
They're doing a podcast together. And it turns into them like yelling at each other nonstop.
Like, okay, so a podcast, Jonah and Peter?
No, and Spider-Man.
So Jonah and Spider-Man, who have been technically...
against
each other for the longest time, and now are buddy-buddy, but the world doesn't know that because I say, okay.
Exactly.
All
and
right.
we learned that, like, apparently when Jonah joined the, Threats and Menaces website, his only stipulation was, we will not badmouth Spider-Man.
Right, because now he knows who he is, and they're more
and
friends.
so this was kind of the pseudo fallout of the fact that he was trying to help, but outed the fact that they were doing a secret mission and all of that kind of stuff. And then it just turned into each of them yelling at each other for doing X, Y, or Z to the other one. And that's pretty much the entire comic. And I was very, very bored. Honestly, this Jonah stuff is making... If I did not have to read this comic for the show, I would not, because the past... 20 issues have all been the same story, just in a different location. Yeah. So that is Amazing Spider-Man number 39. All right. A fantastic comic that came out this week. Batman Pennyworth, rest in peace.
Oh, yes. This was very good, yeah.
This was fantastic. This was the funeral and then, what is it called? The wake? Essentially, the Bat family's wake.
The Bat family wake. Yeah,
and
it wasn't really the funeral. It was they start off and they're opening the Alfred Pennyworth Children's Hospital.
Oh, that's
so it's
what
like
they were
the
doing.
dedication. Yeah, because they have a big statue of Alfred there, and they were doing the ribbon cutting.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay,
and then it kind of went into like the Bat family wake, kind of thing.
So yeah, they have the wake where each of them gives their story of essentially their favorite moment with Alfred.
And
they were fantastic.
It was really good.
I really
thought
liked
it was very nice.
I think what made the issue not as good as it could have been is the entire thing with Rick Grayson right now.
Right, yeah. I mean, and he even points it out in the comic, though. He's like, I don't even know why I'm here.
Yeah.
And Jason points it out because he's like, you're not even really a member of the family anymore.
Right.
Now, technically speaking, I believe he's back to being Dick Grayson in Nightwing. Because they point this out in the thing. This is supposed to take place before Nightwing.
I really hope not, because this would have worked way better if it took place after that.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it ruined the book. You said it kind of ruined it.
Not ruined it. I was more didn't make it as great as it could have been.
It could have been. I mean, we still got to
said it was still fantastic.
We still got a Dick Grayson story.
Yes.
Because Rick sits down with Bruce and even says, like, okay, what is the story that Dick would tell if he was here? And we get Bruce's version of the story, obviously. We don't know if it would be. I wouldn't say... it kind of detracted from the book, but then you could also go into whenever he does become Dick Grayson again, this can be big. Like, I wasn't even there when Alfred...
Right, like he has a very existential crisis.
Exactly, yeah. So,
I could see that. That would be a good progression
in
of the
story.
character.
Yeah, so... Okay. But overall, I think it was great. The individual stories, were fantastic. Yeah. As much as I disliked Alfred's death... it has come out that apparently it was not on Tom King.
No, it was an editorial.
It was an editorial decision, which everybody knows my feelings on the Tom King run and how I did state I'm I guess sad, not really sad, but I guess that's the closest word you could use, that they took Alfred during such a crappy story. But this, however, was very good.
I did like that Barbara makes the thing we were all thinking about of, and then you decided to go on a vacation with Catwoman at the worst possible time.
I mean, a lot of the comments they made were kind of my comments on the Tom King run.
I think they watched this podcast.
It's possible. You're welcome, these comments. So, yeah, I mean, overall, this book was amazing, though. The art was good.
Yeah. I enjoyed it
The story was good, yeah. It was fantastic.
All right. Next up on the list is Batman and the Outsiders, number 10. I did not read this one. I assume you did, though.
So I've been following this one. So this one is kind of it's just a continuation of the current arc. Black Lightning is kind of palling around with Lady Shiva there, because he wants to kill.
And for the record, this is part 3 of the A League of Their Own story arc.
So at the beginning of this arc everybody was kind of separated based off the last arc. And Jefferson lost his friend and was trying to figure out how to deal with that, because obviously they're not supposed to kill.
Right.
So he kind of gets together with Lady Shiva, and she's like, "Oh, we can kill. That's not that big a deal. Like, do it all the time."
I killed a guy before I showed up.
Yeah, I mean, he messed up my order, so I killed him real fast. Nothing crazy happens in this particular issue. Okay. All the characters do come back together by the end of it. I assume for the final 2 issues of the arc. I'm still enjoying the book, though. I think the art's great. I think it's getting to see like these side characters that don't normally get the spotlight,
right?
Which I always think is fun. And the characters themselves are very interesting. So if you've been enjoying the book, I would keep going with it.
All right.
Yeah.
Next up on the list is Batman vs. Ra's al Ghul, number 4, I believe, of the 6-issue miniseries. I'm going to verify that real quick.
I believe so.
Yes, 6-issue miniseries. So I believe you have...
I've not been reading this one at all.
You have not?
No, not even from the beginning.
All right,
I thought you did.
No.
And I was like, well, Dan's been reading this one, so I won't.
No, I could have sworn you were reading it. I may be thinking of a different one then. Well, anyway... Batman vs. Ra's al Ghul number 4 did come out. Black Panther and the Agents of Wakanda number 6 came out this week. We have not been following that one, but Benny decided to buy it, so I figure I'll let you know. Catwoman number 20 came out this week. I'm not a fan of the character, so I have not been reading it.
Yeah, I mean, I fell off a while ago. I was saying, I sort of flipped through this one. I was saying, like, I mean, it's good if you like if you like Catwoman.
Right.
But the solo series itself wasn't doing anything crazy to me. Yeah, so I haven't really been following it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next up is Doctor Strange number 3. This is a part of the new Surgeon Supreme thing. I actually enjoyed this one. I liked... So the villain in this one was a demon that would essentially drain people's souls through ink. And would give people tattoos and then essentially super age them and absorb their energy through this. And I liked this issue because I did not read the storyline where he gets his hands back.
Okay.
And I liked it because in this issue, he explicitly explains that since he got his hands back, he lost the muscle memory of the Sorcerer Supreme, and so he still has to regain that power. And I liked it because it kind of adds a little bit of a hindrance to the character instead of being like, hey, this all-powerful wizard is doing whatever he wants to do.
Right.
And so I kind of liked that. So far, this comic series has seemed to be a bunch of little mini stories, but I've been enjoying it a lot. Actually, it's making me enjoy Doctor Strange that I might go back and read some of his other stuff.
Fair enough.
Because it's very interesting. It's very good writing on that character. So it is Doctor Strange, Surgeon Supreme, number 3. Next up on our list is Excalibur, number 7. I'll let you talk about this one a little bit. I assume you read it because it's one of your favorites.
Yes. Of the new X-Men books. So this one is basically after our previous arc.
Yep.
Where Jamie Braddock
has
taken over as king of the other world.
Yep.
Which is kind of lazy writing for a name, but that's fine.
Technically King of Avalon. Not
that's
other
right.
world.
Yeah. So this one's kind of just... I mean, realistically, not a lot happened in this particular issue. It's kind of the fallout from that. They're talking to Apocalypse, who's like, no, I'm being completely upfront with you guys.
We're going more into his motives and his plans, and because he straight up is just like, hey, so
here's my
he's like, I made a grimoire so that you guys can read everything that I'm doing.
It's practically like he's like, here are my memoirs. You just go ahead and figure out what I'm doing.
It's my autobiography.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot. It was kind of just like the aftermath, and everybody kind of calming down a little bit. Yeah.
It was the interlude to lead up to this next one with the War Beasts.
Yep.
I believe they're called.
Well, okay.
Or sorry, the War Wolves.
War Wolves. Yeah, I was gonna say because I guess the interlude was the first half, and then we go into they're hunting the War Wolves with what's his name, Bloodstone. I forget the first name now.
I can't remember his name.
I assume he's Elsa Bloodstone's brother or something.
Elson Bloodstone?
Sure, yeah. Why not? And then they hunt the werewolves, and, it's kind of like... I mean, that was pretty much the rest of the issue.
That was it.
Yeah,
it was very much an interlude of just resolving what previously happened, explaining what we're going to be going towards. I have not really been enjoying this interpretation of Gambit.
He seems kind of whiny.
He's way too whiny.
Yeah,
he's too whiny,
very whiny
and very overly protective, which I feel is very against the character because he's always been Rogue's a strong one. She can take care of herself.
Yeah. She's stronger than me normally. And then he's like, oh, well, you remember the last time you guys tricked me into do something for Apocalypse, and you said you weren't going to do that anymore, and I'm not happy and playing cards.
Grumpy.
Yeah. Honestly, kind of a little bit, yeah.
So...
not a bad issue, but not a lot happened in it either.
Very slow issue.
Yeah.
So that was Excalibur number 7. Next up, a series that you have been reading, Gotham City Monsters number 6.
So this is the
conclusion,
the finale, as they say. Nobody says that. Where they're fighting. What? No. Shockingly, spoiler alert, they succeed. It was kind of, honestly, I mean, it wasn't a bad wrap up, but it was kind of a little abrupt. It was kind of like, they finally doing the final fight where, I forget the main guys, the King of Mars there, he has to sacrifice 2 people to stop the infection of the dark multiverse, as everything is about the dark multiverse nowadays.
Well, with death metal coming up,
that is true.
We got to make sure people remember.
And basically they stop him. It turns into they're fighting. They call them Grundys instead of zombies.
I like it.
Because Solomon Grundy's a zombie, in case anyone was wondering. They're fighting them in the swamp. They stop him. They kind of steal his soul, and the red ghost there kind of traps it in his brick. And he's like, I'll take care of it. Don't even worry about it. And then it kind of just goes to, and then they're like, oh, all right, we won the day. Everybody back to Monster Town. And then you get the conclusion to everybody's story.
Right.
Killer Croc is going to take over at the kind of the hotel hostel where his friend was working, who died, and Frankenstein goes off to do Frankenstein things. The Red Ghost goes back to his opera house with the soul of the evil guy trapped in a painting, which is always fun. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad ending. The series as a whole, I feel, wasn't quite what I wanted.
Okay.
It was okay. I'd probably give it like a 6.
Okay.
Out of 10, like the series as a whole.
But definitely worth finning if you have been.
I mean, if you've been reading, yeah, you might as well go ahead and finish. Because, I mean, the art is still good. The story itself isn't bad. It's just not quite what I was expecting, I guess. Right. But, yeah, overall, it was all right.
All right.
Yeah.
Next up on our list is Gwen Stacy, #1 of a 5-issue miniseries. This was actually...
see this one.
Yeah, Benny missed it as well at first. This was actually... more enjoyable than I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of expecting very similar to The Amazing Mary Jane, where as you guys know, I'm not against it, but I'm also not entirely for it.
Sure, yeah.
This is Gwen Stacy's pretty much like the origin early on, because it takes place simultaneously as Uncle Ben's getting shot.
Okay, so this isn't Spider-Gwen. This is like
this is
normal
Gwen
canon
Stacy.
Universe Gwen Stacy.
I cannot verify canon universe. I'm gonna assume because they've given Harry Osborn the weird hair.
Okay, yeah. So it's kind of like a retro.
That's the only thing I've seen in this newer retcon. But it was actually kind of fun. It was interesting seeing like the dynamic of her character, the other students currently. Like the situation with her dad and like all the villains that are there at this time. And it was actually a lot more enjoyable than I was expecting. If you enjoy the character Gwen Stacy, if you are interested in any way of kind of the other Spider-Man characters that have never really been focused on, it's worth reading. I would definitely consider it if, it sounds interesting to you. So next up on our list is Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, #6. I believe this is this was a very conclusion-y week because this is the conclusion to their 6-issue miniseries.
Yes. Good final issue.
Okay.
Leaves a lot up for, like, I don't know what's going to happen with Poison Ivy and Harley at this point. They kind of break up in this issue. Sort of.
That's weird.
Spoiler alert. So basically, the end of last issue, Harley and Poison Ivy had headed to New York where they were going to be fighting the Floronic Man, which is a terrible name. I don't know who came up with that. Yeah. It's dumb. They discovered that it wasn't the Floronic Man that was after them the whole time. It was Poison Ivy.
What?
So earlier in the series, like, Poison Ivy kind of was getting over what happened to her in Heroes in Crisis, and she came back with that weird inside out look she had.
Right.
It turns out that was only a version of Poison Ivy that had been traveling with Harley Quinn.
Oh, thank goodness, actually, because I really didn't like that.
Well, no,
version.
she got better. Like she had skin and stuff, yeah. And then remember I told you she created like the wood armor and blades and stuff.
Oh, that's right.
So that was really cool. So it turns out that was actually just a part of Poison Ivy, and the rest of Poison Ivy was still at the house they were burning down.
So she's kind of like one of those people where if you cut off her arm becomes
yes,
a person.
it kind of became its own version of her. So the issue is spent fighting Poison Ivy, the actual full version of Poison Ivy, and her explaining to Harley and the other version of Poison Ivy that, that like Harley left her behind. They burned down the house.
Right.
She, now she feels betrayed, yada, 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 as you do. And then Harley's version of Poison Ivy, this gets very confusing, basically tells Harley to run, and then they fight the two Ivies.
Okay.
And then they meld into one, but you don't know which one won. Yeah.
It's totally going to be a, what is it? Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Kind of, it seems that way, but then it's also like because like actual Poison Ivy is very pissed off at Harley because she feels betrayed.
Right.
Which, kind of makes sense, I get. So you don't know where their relationship is, and after, so long of her and Harley being together, it's kind of strange to see. It's kind of weird that DC would like break them up
Right.
like this. So yeah, so it's a good issue. It was a really good miniseries. So yeah, I would recommend the miniseries if you like Harley and Poison Ivy. If you don't, why would you be reading it in the first place? I don't know. Why did you pick it up?
That is fair.
It doesn't make any sense.
It does not.
Yeah.
All right. Next up on our list is Hawkeye Freefall number 3.
Freefall.
My head was trying to think of the song as well.
It's
and
called
then
Free Fallin', actually.
Yeah. I was trying to remember how the song went. All right, so in this one, we have Clint talking to the hacker kid that found out. I didn't spoil it for you, but Clint is Roman.
Oh, yes.
So,
which was really lazy.
It was, and apparently in this, we learn how he was able to be in 2 places at the same time. He apparently stole a device that essentially allows him to go forward in time for an hour.
Okay.
And then he goes back to normal time so he can be there at the same time.
Interesting.
And so
That's
he's
comic
been
books for
doing
you
that as Ronin, and it goes in a different direction because originally he was becoming Ronin so that he could get rid of the gangs. And then in this one, we learn, oh, hey, so Red Hood, or the Hood, sorry, in this one is now killing people to find Ronin. And so Clint's like, crap.
Yeah.
My bad, guys.
Does seem like an issue, yeah.
But, yeah, that's kind of this issue
just
in a
kind
nutshell.
of explaining it a little bit better.
Yeah. So if you have been reading it and enjoying it, this one will make some things make sense. And yeah, we'll find out what happens. I have been enjoying the comic. I think it's a pretty solid one. So
Fair enough.
Next up on our list is Hawkman number 21. This is continuing the Sky Tyrant against Titan Hawk, who is
big old giant hawk.
Big old giant hawk that is protecting the key that one of the older Hawkmen had.
Yeah, it's like the key to basically destroying the universe.
Something like that, which seems like a weird thing to keep.
I know, right? There's got to be like a super weapon incinerator somewhere.
Gotta be.
Batman's got to have one.
He's got it.
You would assume. Anyway, sorry.
But so this one is essentially that entire fight, as well as seeing what Hawkwoman, Adam.
Yeah. Adam Strange.
and
Adam.
The Atom.
The shrinky guy.
And they make a comment where they're like, wait, Adam with a D or an Adam with a T?
Yeah, I mean, basically the issue was just a giant fight.
Yeah.
That's all it really was. And then they kind of captured.
I won't lie, I got kind of annoyed because at the very end, pause real quick if you don't want the spoiler, they capture Sky Tyrant as well as the key. And they're discussing it on the ship, and they're like, you know what? You know where we should store the thing that this guy is trying to get?
I honestly thought the exact same thing.
They literally have Sky Tyrant knocked out on like a couch, not strapped down or anything.
Not like prison cell or nothing.
With the key
literally
and his
sitting
mace right there.
Yeah, that was... I honestly thought the exact same thing when we got to that panel. I was like, why would you keep it in the same goddamn room?
This is just asking for him to wake up and take it.
That doesn't make any sense.
But
superheroes are stupid.
As a comic, I won't lie. Overall, the Hawkman series has been going a little downhill for me.
I would say so. Yeah.
But it has not gotten bad enough that I'm writing on.
No.
So, take that.
I also like the fact that it seems like in several series we have DC's versions of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like we have the Justice League Odyssey.
Yep.
Which I keep saying is like DC's version of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Totally.
And now we have this new crew of Hawkwoman, Adam, and Adam Strange doing other stuff in space. I was like, well, it's funny. We keep getting like these groups, these weird groups where they're all in space doing hilarious things. Anyway,
it seems to be the new fad. Let's send a group of a strange
group of people
with a couple of humorous people. So
Dexter is going to show up in this book too. I'm going to call it now.
He definitely will. All right. So next up on our list is Immortal Hulk number 31. So previously it ended with that giant Yeti showing up, the essentially psychic Yeti.
I'm trying to figure that guy out.
It seems weird. So essentially, there's this Yeti that has shown up. Hulk went completely berserk, like very out of character for who he is right now. He
reverted to almost like to normal Hulk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
to
strong
Hulk
and super intelligent.
Exactly. And he's fighting this one, and everyone's starting to go weird because it seems like the Yeti is hypnotizing people with his eyes to
like
make
some sort
them,
of strange effect on them.
Yeah, because they start implying that people are like, oh, yeah, I remember who that was.
Right.
And they're like remembering things, and then they re-remember it, and the Yeti's there instead.
Yeah.
So it's going in a very weird direction. Not very Hulk-like.
No, I will say we're starting to veer back towards like the Twilight Zone weird stuff, though.
It does seem like we're going towards that, but we're very much in the...
It's like a weird middle... Yeah, exactly. It's a weird middle ground right now because the last few issues they were focusing all on the Roxxon stuff, and it wasn't very interesting. So now it seems like we're going back towards that sort of horror vibe, X-Files horror vibe that Immortal Hulk had at the beginning,
right?
Which to me made it more fun. So hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
I was trying to figure out the Yeti thing.
It'll go.
Like, what's going on with this thing?
It was a very, very weird thing, but I have a feeling it was written that way to confuse us.
Yes.
So that they can kind of do what they want without us expecting it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Next up on our list today is Iron Man 2020, issue 2 out of 6. So this is continuing the story of Tony Stark being the leader of the AI resistance who are fighting against Iron Man 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And it's essentially that, except Arno Stark is essentially, he's like, so I made a new operating system that's going to prevent all the bad things that they want to do. And so they're like, well, we have to go stop him. So they go and try and stop him. And I bet you can guess how that works out.
They don't.
But
no, they do.
I mean, it's kind of a fun story. I am enjoying it. I think it's a very interesting version of the Tony Stark character.
Okay.
Does not look like him at all.
I was just the covers all look weird to me.
Yeah, he definitely does not look like Tony Stark. Like he's got long hair.
Yeah.
He's
Hippie
also
Tony Stark.
Everyone thinks he's disappeared. Everyone thinks that he's back to being an alcoholic. We learn in this that he's not, which I'm actually kind of glad. It's kind of overdone with the character.
Yeah.
And I think it was very, very solid when they took that away from the character.
Okay.
But I mean, this is kind of a fun story. I very much like the idea of this Tony Stark being the leader of the AI resistance against his brother who is trying to become Iron Man. I'm not sure what they're doing with the parents because I'm not sure if you remember, Arno Stark essentially brought back Maria and Howard
I
Stark.
remember you saying that.
And they really do nothing but be like, hey, so can we go do stuff?
Like, since
Like,
we're
are we
alive
allowed
again?
to and stuff?
Is that cool?
And he's just like, no, get away. I do want to say, because this is Iron Man 2020 number 2 of 6, but it is definitely not a 6-issue series. Let me read the checklist for you. It goes Iron Man 2020 number 1, Iron Man 2020 number 2, Machine Man 2020 number 1, Force Works 2020 number 1, Rescue 2020 number 1, Iron Man 2020 number 3, Iron Age number 1, Machine Man 2020. It literally has a ton, and then towards the end, we're gonna finally get that. We're gonna get a couple Ironheart 2020s and an I Wolverine. So we're getting another cyborg
Wolverine.
No, not Iron Wolverine. I Wolverine, like iRobot.
Oh, I see.
So.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I am enjoying it. I think it's a very fun story, and I would actually recommend it. So, if you have been reading it, Jessica Jones' Blind Spot number 3 came out this week. We have not been reading it, so we are obviously not going to talk about it. Also, from the Gamerverse, the Marvel Spider-Man The Black Cat Strikes number 2 came out.
Yes, I did read this one.
Oh, you did?
Yes. So basically, this is just a continuation of the DLC.
Okay.
Yeah. So it seems like the first one, obviously the first arc was the game.
Okay.
Then we had the Velocity arc, which was explaining some of the suits, or a suit, I should say. And now this is the Black Cat DLC. I forget what the actual title of it, the DLC itself was.
Yeah, I can't remember.
So if you didn't play the DLC, which I didn't, I check it out. It's it's not a bad story. The art's still pretty solid in it. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next up on our list is Nebula, #1 of a 5-issue miniseries. This was a very interesting comic.
Okay.
So Nebula, it starts off, she is a assassin robot, as she is, and she finds this scientist who has created the all-seer device, which she has implanted into her body, which is essentially, think the VAT system from Fallout, where like you can see the percentage of chances. That's pretty much what it is.
It'd be cool to have,
and she goes kind of crazy with it because it was not meant to be put into biological beings.
Yeah.
And it goes towards the end where she gets amnesia. So where this is going to go, I don't know. I don't know because she doesn't know.
That's fair.
So I was actually very glad about that because it makes me actually not knowing what I'm getting myself into. Whereas if it was entirely Nebula, I'd be like, oh, she's just going to go around killing people.
Right.
There's nothing strange about that. So I am actually kind of excited to continue this story. Let me see who's writing it. Vida Ayala. I actually don't recognize that name, so maybe worth checking out if you like the character. If you don't, I will say, if you don't like the character, you're not gonna like this because
if you don't like Nebula, why did you buy a comic called Nebula?
Right.
Doesn't make any sense.
This is not going to be one of those ones where it changes your mind.
Sure.
On the character.
Yeah. Like if you're on the fence,
exactly.
I'll check this out.
Is not going to make you go, oh man, I love the character now. Just make you go, man, I hate the character even more now because this is the same version at the start. So maybe on the next issue I can tell you that it gets better, but we'll have to find out when the next issue comes out. All right, next up on our list is Savage Avengers #10.
Savage Avengers.
Savage Avengers. No? Okay. I'm assuming you read this one.
I did.
All right. Let's hear it.
This is the ending to Conan, Doctor Strange, Doctor Doom's fight with Kulan Goth.
Yep.
They win. Spoiler alert.
Which I actually really enjoyed that bit.
It was good. It was a good ending.
Destroyed him.
It was a good ending. Conan still being Conan. Likes to throw things. Likes to smash things.
And do things without thinking.
Which is one of the reasons I actually like the character. Overall, so this was, I believe, the end to this arc.
It was.
Yes. Okay. So it would be weird. I don't know how they would continue it otherwise.
Yeah.
It was a good end to the arc. I have definitely enjoyed the second arc better than I enjoyed the first arc, which we talked about.
I will agree with that.
So it kind of ends. I also like kind of the ending to it where Conan's still like ranting and raving as Conan. And he's like, come, wizards, we'll go find a tavern and get very drunk. And they were like, all right, we're sending you away. And
they look at each other and they're like, do you have any objections?
Nah.
No.
And they send him back to Brazil, which is where Dr. Doom found him.
Yep.
And he's just immediately like, curse you, wizards. Next time I see you, I will kill you. It was a fun arc. It was definitely a far better arc than the first one, which I felt started strong and then ended terribly. So I would overall, and the art has definitely gotten better since.
Oh, it
the
really
original arc
has.
as well.
And I really like the dynamic between Strange and Doom because you can tell that they're not always on the same side. But their dynamic is very much we need to do this for the betterment of the magical world because we do lead into another. I could have sworn there was something at the end that teased something between Strange and Doom. I could be remembering.
They end back up at the Sanctum Sanctorum. They both collapse on the ground because they're very tired. I don't remember. And they basically say like, okay, we got to work together and save the world kind of thing. I don't remember there being a specific thing.
He says, I opened it up. He was talking about stopping Kulan Goth.
Yes.
And they just mentioned that they might need Mephisto.
That's right. Yes.
Which, if you did not read Damned, is essentially imprisoned in the Hotel Inferno at the moment. So,
which is in Las Vegas.
It is.
Which Conan is also breaking into in the the War of the Serpent Crown.
Into Vegas?
He's breaking into the Hotel Inferno.
Oh, really?
Yes, that is what happens in the first issue. So, Conan the Barbarian kind of looped into a lot of stuff in Marvel Comics right now. Yeah.
And it's funny because usually when they put characters everywhere, you get so tired of them. But I do not feel it's that case
I really enjoy
with
Conan the Barbarian. So.
All right. So next up is Spirits of Ghost Rider, Mother of Demons, #1. So this was continuing the current Ghost Rider stuff where Johnny Blaze is the king of hell. He's going crazy, doing all of his stuff.
Spirit of Corruption?
Yes, Danny Ketch is now the Spirit of Corruption, which is essentially the Limbo version and Belasco's version of
Ghost Rider.
The Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
This one, it seems like we're going to be seeing all the different players that are trying to get the throne of hell. This is about Lilith, which, if you know anything about demons, you know that she is essentially the mother of demons.
I felt like the title was a little weird because it only covers her for the first third of the book.
It doesn't show too much of her. I really did not like the art.
No, the art was a little messy.
The art was very messy. I did not enjoy it.
No.
But it is kind of needed if you are reading the Ghost Rider stuff right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not really too much else to say.
You get a lot of side information, which it will probably be useful, for the main series.
It'll probably be useful. Honestly, though, I feel like all you need to know is Lilith also wants the throne.
Yeah.
And made a deal with Belasco.
Right, yeah. So, and then we get a little bit of Danny as the Spirit of Corruption, which is a cool design, actually.
It is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't just Judge Dredd.
Yeah, kind of like a Judge Dredd kind of thing. I also like the fact they didn't just copy and paste he's a green version of Ghost Rider.
Right.
They actually gave him a unique design, his own weapons, his own type of thing. Yeah.
He definitely feels like an original character.
Yeah, instead of just it's a green bike now instead of
he's got green flames instead of red flames. So. All right. Next up on our list is Star Wars: The Rise of Kylo Ren, #3 of 4.
Yeah. So this one is continuing the Rise of Kylo Ren. So we see Ben Solo find the Knights of Ren, which the comic actually gives them a little bit of a personality, unlike the movie.
Right.
Which you just saw them standing there.
You just know that they exist.
Yeah, and they have the ability to get to different planets very quickly. Yeah. So it's basically Ben Solo kind of joining their ranks, and the thing with them is to join the ranks, you have to have a good death on your hands. So you have to have murdered someone.
Okay.
Or killed someone.
Right.
And it has to be warranted as a good death. So he's telling kind of the story of his last duel with 3 of the students from Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy. So overall, I mean, it's an okay story so far. It's nothing crazy.
Right.
You don't really learn more about Ben Solo's character just because we already knew from the movies that he was conflicted, obviously, yada, yada, yada. So you don't really get a whole lot extra. It's okay. It's not I wouldn't say it's a must-read series, but if you're a fan of Star Wars, it's not bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's Star Wars: The Rise of Kylo Ren, #3. Why am I keep getting calls?
You're very popular.
I know, clearly. All right, Supergirl #39 came out this week. Neither of us are following that one.
I read this one just because of the infected thing.
Okay, what'd you think?
The issue itself is one big fight, and then it's Supergirl being her infected, which I've said in the past. It seems like the Joker Who Laughs infection thing just turns everybody into big assholes, and which is just kind of how she is in this book. Like Wonder Woman's trying to talk to her, she's just being a bitch, and. And then at the
Wonder Woman or Supergirl?
Supergirl.
Okay.
And at the end of the book, she seems to the infection mutates.
Okay.
And now she has spikes coming out of her body and stuff like that.
Kind of awesome.
Yeah. I don't know why. The overall issue itself is
Doomsday-ish?
No. It doesn't look like it coming out of her body. It almost looks like her clothing evolves.
Okay.
And she's wearing spiked armor now. It's an okay story. I honestly these. I think the infected designs are really cool, but the actual characterization is honestly just annoying.
Yeah, I actually kind of agree with that.
Yeah, she just kind of turns into a bitch. Shazam turns into a frat bro.
Yeah,
is kind of the way I described it. So.
All right,
there's my review.
Supergirl 39. All right, Superman number 20 came out. Neither of us read that one. Superman Heroes number 1 came out this week. I did read this one.
Okay.
So do you remember Action Comics 1000, where it was a bunch of stories about like people's experience with Superman? This is that, but people telling their opinion of him revealing his identity. Yeah, that's the comic. I got bored.
So meh. Professional.
I'm sure if you enjoy Superman, you will enjoy this.
You might want to look at the reactions to it. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
and it does have one of those ones where each story is a different artist. It seemed like this was kind of a tribute issue.
Okay,
so. All right, next up is Symbiote Spider-Man Alien Reality number 3 of 5. I've actually been loving this.
I like this series a lot. I'm not going to lie.
So this is the story continuing off of the Symbiote Spider-Man from the past that got... The world got changed. He arrived where Doctor Strange is no longer the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yep, he's just a homeless guy.
And we have... the Hobgoblin as the apprentice to the Sorcerer Supreme.
And we learn who the Sorcerer Supreme is.
Learn who the Sorcerer Supreme is. Do we want to tell him? No. We won't tell him. It's not needed. But I have been really enjoying this. I really like the idea of Spider-Man learning to use magic. I also like that Strange has a conversation with the symbiote.
I thought that was very interesting because that means... retconning, obviously,
right.
that Doctor Strange did know that the symbiote was taking over Spider-Man.
Yeah.
When he was asleep.
It's fun.
It's an interesting conversation, yeah. Obviously, the symbiote doesn't really talk, which is weird because the symbiote can talk. Maybe it didn't know how to talk then.
No.
Yeah.
Because that was before it was like a Clintar and all that.
Yeah, it is true. So. Yeah, it's a good point. But yes, it was a very fun series. Very good issue. Yeah, I really like it. Art's great.
I definitely recommend this series.
Yeah.
So...
here's my question though.
Also, just for the record, like he said, it's not continuity. That's the best part. You do not have to have read anything.
No, you don't.
All you need to know is Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
And he has an alien suit.
That
he isn't aware is an alien suit.
He isn't aware is an alien suit, and that is making him do things when he's unconscious.
Yes.
So,
here's my only question.
Okay.
This struck me as weird while I was reading the comic. So obviously it's an alternate reality. Doctor Strange is homeless now. Hobgoblin, we assume, is behind everything.
Yep. Natasha Romanoff is Black Cat.
Why Natasha Romanoff as Red Cat?
Oh, that's right.
So let's say it's Hobgoblin, right? Is the one who did this. He changed everything. I get he wants to be the Sorcerer Supreme. I get he wants to defeat Spider-Man. I get all of that. Why would he make Natasha Romanoff essentially Black Cat? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Honestly, of all the things to change,
I feel like the way that this one ended, I feel like next issue we might get a little bit of a background.
Yeah.
The fact that it's a 5-issue miniseries makes me less likely about that part.
It just seemed really weird to me, like a very strange change. It was basically like, to me, it sounds like somebody at Marvel was just like, screw it, make it Natasha like Black Cat.
They like found a dartboard and they're like...
Yeah, like it just seemed like a very odd alternate version.
I could see it being because she is trained as an assassin.
Yeah.
She is trained to fight, and she was on the side of communism.
Yeah,
so
true.
She would be easier to convert into your...
I guess. It just seems like a very odd choice.
It is an odd choice. I will agree with that, so...
Anyway, that was it. It was just my thought while reading the comic.
Yeah, but it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a good book.
I'm really enjoying
it.
And the art is so good.
It is very good, yeah.
All right, next up is The Batman's Grave, number 5
This is the Batman
12.
Series I've been reading.
Yes.
Yeah.
I knew it was one of them.
Yeah. So yes, this continues the Batman's Grave series. I said it last issue. Mm-hmm. It's a good Batman story. I'm not really sure of the point of it yet.
Okay.
It's a very good Batman story. Well, I would say it's like a 7 to 5. It's not an amazing. It's not like an earth-shattering Batman story.
Average.
It's above average, especially considering our average currently was Tom King. But it's by Warren Ellis, who is a fantastic comic book writer. But this doesn't really seem very Warren Ellis-y. Mm-hmm. It's a detective story at this point. But it's nothing like really crazy, so I'm not really sure of the point of it yet. Now, we still have like 7 issues to go or something. It's a 12-issue miniseries or maxi series. Overall, it's good. Brian Hitch is a fantastic artist. Warren Ellis is a great writer. Like I said, I give it like a 7.5. It's a good Batman story. It's just nothing. It's not to me the level of like Curse of the White Knight right now, where it's just like every issue is like, oh my God, I didn't believe that was going to happen.
Right.
This is just more like a normal Batman story. It's probably the best way I can put it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's The Batman's Grave number 5. Next up is The Dollhouse Family number 4. It was purchased, so I don't know if you read it or
Yes,
not.
I did read it.
Okay.
So this is, I've said it before. I've said like there are 2 series from the Hill House Black Label stuff that I really enjoyed. There's one that's okay. This is the okay one, and then there's one that I think is crap. This is the okay one. It's a weird demon possessed dollhouse story thing.
Okay.
So basically there's this the demon possessed dollhouse makes deals with people, and then they get trapped in the dollhouse.
Okay.
So then people can go into the dollhouse, and you can interact with people who've been trapped there who don't realize they're trapped in a dollhouse.
Okay.
It's an
That's kinda
interesting.
cool.
It's an interesting story. It's just at times very dull.
Okay.
Is probably the best way to put it. Because like at the beginning of this issue, there was a fire based off the demon. Mother lost her leg. Daughter lost her arm. So most of the issue is them trying to get used to the mother came out of a coma, and then she's got the leg or lost the leg, and she's getting used to the prosthetic leg and things like that. Which itself is not a bad story. It's just like I thought this was a horror book comic kind of thing. Towards the end, she finally goes home. She goes to the dollhouse. Demon's like, listen, I can give your daughter back her arm. You stay in the dollhouse. We'll call it good.
Okay.
And she's like, no, all of this happened because of you. I never want to, you're going to go away. We're going to live happily, that sort of thing.
Right.
And then the next day she wakes up and her leg is back. Because the daughter made the deal.
Interesting.
So then it's like, and then the dollhouse disappears, and the demon's like, haha, I got you, bitch. It's essentially what it says. So,
I hope that's the exact dialogue.
If I was a demon, that's how I would say it. Like, ha, I got you, bitch. So it's not a bad story, which is why I said this is the okay one. It's not the other one, which is just crap. It's not a bad story. It's okay. It's just meh at this point. Yeah. Okay. Of the 4 books that have come out, this would probably be my, oddly enough, 3rd favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So next up on our list is The Flash number 88. This is the Flash Age prelude, and explains the new villain Paradox.
Okay.
Which is, it felt like a slower comic. I'm not the biggest fan of this art style, but
oh yeah, we were talking about this.
Yeah.
It's very cartoonish stylized.
Very
stylized.
cartoonish.
Yeah.
We go into, this is before the Flash, or it starts before the Flash gets his powers.
Okay.
And we have this father who is tracking the multiverse. Like he's even got posters in his office where one of them's the Dr. Manhattan sign, one's the Gotham Haunted, one's like a spaceship landed, and stuff like that. And this guy is trying to figure out whether or not there is a multiverse.
Okay.
When the Flash gets his powers, he sees the multiverse. Mm-hmm. Now, the way that he becomes, the start of his origin is very interesting, actually, where he talks about how when the Flash is fighting other villains, he pushes time forward a little bit.
Okay.
And the reason why this guy is called Paradox is one of the times where time gets pushed forward, he gets left behind.
Interesting.
And him and like a couple people that were near him when this happened fall into this sort of limbo of time. Very interesting. Mm-hmm. And it's a good origin to a villain. I don't know where they're going to go with this or stuff like that, but it was actually a pretty cool origin to a villain that I personally have not seen before.
Yeah,
I've never seen someone essentially lose their place in existence because of the Flash moving time.
Yeah.
We see Flash moving time breaking the timeline a bunch of times, which he says in this.
Literally every time.
Every time, and he still doesn't. He actually even references that. He's like, it never works, but he still does it.
Every time.
But yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Nothing too amazing. I have a feeling that most likely you could potentially skip this one because it's just an origin of the villain.
Right.
And that's kind of it. I believe we do have him. I'm going to look through the page real quick just to make sure. Oh, yes, that's right. So I'm not sure if you guys remember the end of, it was a Flash comic a while back where Godspeed had like gone and been like taking powers from people. And then he showed up at the end and he was talking to someone like, hey, I did it. Like, I've done what you do. We learned that this was the villain that he was talking to.
Okay.
So it is connecting to what happened back then, and we'll see what happens from here. So next up, the Green Lantern. I believe this was, let me make sure I get the exact name because it's definitely not the same. The Green Lantern Season 2, number 1. Still written by Grant Morrison. I did not read it. It's still the bad art that I don't like, the Liam Sharp style. I guess I shouldn't say bad, but it's a style
it's just
I am not
your
a
cup
fan.
of tea. Yeah.
Exactly. But that did come out. The Terrifics 25 also came out. Neither of us have been following that story. Yeah. Thor number 3 came out this week.
It's a good issue.
It was a good issue. It's so fast though that I felt like it ended.
Yeah, it was really
so
quick. Yeah.
And it's the same length of a normal comic, but it honestly felt like half of that.
It was short, yeah, or it felt short. Yeah, I can see that.
And it's essentially Thor versus Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was pretty much it. And the entire fight is Beta Ray Bill like demanding to know why Thor would ever do this, why he had become a Herald of Galactus, how he could possibly still lift Mjolnir not being worthy.
Right.
And Thor basically beating the crap out of him the whole time.
Almost like you would expect.
Yeah,
I do like that he states, he's like, look, I have the power of a Herald of Galactus.
Right.
The Odin force,
right.
or the Thor force now, on top of the fact that I am Thor.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
He
You
even
can't
like he's
beat
like,
me.
I'm pretty amazing. We used to be on par.
Yeah.
And then he literally just bitch slaps him into a planet.
Yeah.
Very fun issue.
It was a good issue. Yeah,
It was a good issue.
I'm really enjoying this new Thor run. Honestly, I think it's a good continuation of kind of like I said it before. Like it has that level of epicness you want from a Thor book.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I like it because it also is. It feels like Thor, but it's such a new story that
Yes.
it does not feel like
It's just
just
the same old thing again. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I am enjoying this. I think it is worth
Yes,
reading. So
definitely, I would say this. If you're a Thor fan, check this book out. If for some reason you haven't.
all right. So next up is Venom number 23. I did not read this one.
So this is still Venom on the Venom Island.
Yes,
Or
this is
Eddie Brock on the Venom. I don't know. That's
Venom Island Part 3.
where he has gone full 80s action movie.
He is Rambo.
He is Rambo. He is Commando. He is Arnold Schwarzenegger in this book. Cut off his hand. He does the whole thing where you heat up the knife and cauterize the wound. He does, and so the whole point of this is he's trying to separate the Venom symbiote that had merged with the Carnage symbiote at the end of Absolute Carnage.
Yeah.
So that's the whole purpose of this. He does manage to do it.
Okay.
And then passes out.
As you do.
From blood loss and what he had to do to separate them. Yeah, shock. Yeah. And then the book ends. Captain America, for some reason, has picked him up.
Okay.
And then they nuke Venom Island.
Did you write this?
You would think, right? Because that's what I would do. That's pretty much the book. I mean, the book is just the rest of the fight between Venom. And then we get a little bit of Dylan with his weird shard of the, because he's turned into like a psychopath. And his shard of the Carnage symbiote. This is good. It's been a good continuation of the Absolute Carnage story.
Okay.
Still trying to figure out what the hell's going on with Dylan, why he's a complete psychopath now.
We'll find out in the good son.
Yeah, and what's happened to the Venom symbiote. But this is a good issue, yeah, overall.
Right.
I've enjoyed the art. I really like the 80s references with Eddie. So overall, yeah, it's been a good book.
All right. That is Venom number 23. Wonder Woman number 751 came out this week. We do not read Wonder Woman. X-Force number 7 came out this week. I actually very much enjoyed this issue. It's going through, if you had not read the first arc, Domino got captured.
Yep.
The villains essentially sliced off her skin to fuse into their assassin people
So
that
they
gave
could get
them,
on the island.
and they could they essentially used it for both simulating her luck powers as well as tricking Sage, because they thought it was Domino coming into the island, but it was actually these guys. And this is the story of Domino trying to get her luck back.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
And it was really cool because you she explains different successful assassinations and how impossible they are.
You would have to be
without the
incredibly
luck.
lucky.
And so it's very fun. I am enjoying this. I kind of like the focus on Domino.
Yes, I'm a
Right
fan
now?
of the character, so yeah.
So hopefully it's going to go in a good direction, because the cliffhanger at the end made it seem a little cliche-ish. I won't say what happens because it's not important unless you're reading it. But yeah, I actually did enjoy this issue. X-Force is one of my higher rated.
I would say
X-Men
of the new stuff for me. It would probably go Marauders or Excalibur, Marauders, X-Force, I would say.
Yeah.
For me right now.
I'd put similar order. I'd have to see all of the ones that are coming out.
Right,
There's
yeah,
17.
There's 18 X-Men books.
There's 385.
5,000 different X-Men stories.
6,800,432.
We could do this all day.
Yeah, we
Keep going.
definitely could. All right. And our last comic of the week is X-Men number 6.
Which I wouldn't put very high on my list.
No. So this is Mystique's origin. Or not her origin, her purpose
on Krakoa.
On Krakoa, as well as her personal goals herself and her ulterior motives. Because let's be honest, we all knew that Mystique had ulterior motives.
It's like saying you were
always
surprised when Apocalypse betrayed the team.
Exactly.
Really?
You were surprised when an X-Man died.
Yeah. I will say now the X-Men book itself is not bad.
When you separate it and don't consider it one,
yes, I would say
thing.
every issue seems to be its own thing, which in itself is not bad.
Mm-hmm.
However, it just seems like they're trying to set up the X-Men books, the other X-Men books,
without even fully setting them up.
Exactly. It seems like they're very much like, oh, and if you really want to check that out, we might bring it back up,
right?
Or you could just go read this other book. It is kind of how it seems to me at this point.
Like
I said, they're not bad, and the art's good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not a fan of the swapping around, because I wanted to see more of that. The issue where Xavier, Magneto go to the meeting.
Yeah,
and
fantastic.
That was fantastic. I was like, okay, this I can get behind. I would love to keep reading this. And then they were like, all right, it's done.
And then like the issue where X-23 or Wolverine, sorry.
That they never explained.
Yeah, where they go into the vault, the three of them.
Oh, yeah.
Haven't got any of that again. The three florist ladies or whatever is the elderly florist ladies. Haven't got any of that again.
The botanist club
or
whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is. It's like we get these interesting stories and we get no payoff for them. Yeah. And that's kind of where my issue is with it right now.
I completely agree. So, all right. Well, those are the comics that came out this week, February 12th. Thank you guys so much for watching. We get our support here over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Comicstorian, where you can sub over there for $5 or your Twitch Prime sub and get support us there, because we do stream this live every Monday after our mystery cast at 2 p.m. Eastern. We also get our support from our Patreon, patreon.com/Comicstorian, where for $2 minimum, you get access to this podcast, other podcasts, and early access content on multiple of our channels. If you want to find more of Andy, you can find him on Instagram at 4IamTheAndy. And if you want to find more of me, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DanTProducer and on Twitch at DanTStreamer. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. And we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.